for all students by 6.2 points. When you see a teacher, school leader, or student, be sure to show them some love.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White, and my super producer, Nara Sanders, is in studio with me as well. And we want to welcome y'all back to the studio after that long, restful Christmas break. So, hey, y'all. Listen, I was so excited to talk to y'all today because I feel like it's been a while, and we got some stuff to get into. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to all of the community folk who are putting together these wonderful Kwanzaa events all up and through the city this week. Yesterday, we were on Bayou Road celebrating Kwanzaa. I was on a panel with Senator Royce Duplessis talking about where do we go from here. And the conversation was one that I believe has to continue to be had because I think that there's some viable solutions on the table, but we have to have some honest conversations about how we got here and where we go from here. So shout out to the folks over there on Bayou Road. I do know that Kwanzaa is at Studio B happening as well. It's going to be today. I'm actually speaking there as well today. And there's Kwanzaa tonight in Algiers over with the Black Panthers, but there's something for everybody. There's a schedule put out, follow the schedule, find you a place and go and celebrate Kwanzaa. Yesterday was Unity, Umoja, and today is Kujishakalia. So listen, find you a place and go celebrate. Happy Kwanzaa, y'all. But today we have a wonderful dynamic show. We're going to talk to Doc Jones at the 7:20 hour. That's going to be quite fascinating. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, especially in the wake of our school board elections that just took place here. So we'll have that conversation with him at the 7:20 hour. And our folks over at Rise St. James will be in studio at 8:30. So the show will be dynamic and dope. So hopefully you can tune in and get you some of this. But this is the conversation I want to have right now because I want to know what all of the expertise that you find in the comment section on WBOK, as smart as our listening audience is, and in the know as they are, I want to know why none of y'all told me about this $484 million energy deal that the New Orleans City Council recently voted on. I didn't know about this, and I want to know why none of y'all told me about this, because now that I know about it, I have questions, and hopefully somebody can help me understand what is happening here. Because when I read all of the articles, there are several of them out there. And when I read all of the articles, they go back months, right? And I'm just now learning about this, which is scary. I'm trying to understand because we've had these conversations here about campaign finance, right? I believe, which is what I said last night at the Kwanzaa event, there should be an overhaul of the way campaign finances are done, the monies that are allowed to be dumped into certain campaigns, the fact that people can hide money in super PACs, the fact that you put these monies into people's coffers so that you didn't have them attached to you in a way that forces them to vote the way you want them to vote on certain issues. I think that has to stop. I don't think people should be allowed to accept money from entities that they have to then vote on in terms of business. That to me is a conflict of interest just on its surface. And so something about this deal is not sitting well in my spirit, but I'm just a regular taxpayer. I'm not a council person. I am not a lawyer. I'm neither of those things. But I happen to have a brain, and listen, God has blessed me to be able to use it. And so I have questions, and I want somebody to answer this for me. So there is a $484 million Entergy gas deal that came down to the New Orleans City Council, and it is my understanding that this company, which is red flag number 2 that I have an issue with, on top of the campaign finance part of it, where most of the people who are in the decision-making capacities in Baton Rouge, here in New Orleans, and even in Mississippi, they're trying to buy up things in Mississippi. A lot of them have received campaign donations from this company that is now trying to buy into the Entergy space in different cities, and New Orleans being one of them. I'm just concerned. So the article says the question of whether a private entity-owned company can take over Entergy's gas utilities in Louisiana, which serves over 200,000 customers in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, now depends on whether the 7 members of the New Orleans City Council will vote to authorize or deny the proposed sale. Now, listen, I'm not a business person. I don't know the intricacies of it. What I'm saying is, as a taxpayer, I knew nothing about this, so I'm certain I'm not the only taxpayer that knew nothing about it. I'm concerned, number 2, that the folk who are looking to broker this deal have given campaign monies to the very people who have to actually vote on them taking over our gas and utilities. Something about that gives me great pause. And then the Bernhardt Capital Partners gives me great pause, because that's also the young lady that was cosplaying as a Democrat and was running our Democratic Party at the state level. All of this seems to me, I don't know, it's a mixed bag. I want somebody who knows to help me out, because I don't know. I'm just reading it, and just as a regular taxpaying citizen, I'm saying something in the water ain't clean, because just don't feel right to me. It don't smell right to me. The Louisiana Public Service Commission unanimously approved the deal in August. Bernhardt Capital gave more than $200,000 in campaign donations to members of the commission. The vast majority to Commissioner Craig Green, whose district includes Baton Rouge, according to the report by Floodlight. The Baton Rouge Metro Council, which has more limited regulatory authority than the Public Service Commission, and the New Orleans City Council, is expected to follow its lead and also approve the sale, according to those familiar with the process. I'm not familiar with the process, so I can only tell you what's in the article. But it is not clear what the New Orleans City Council will decide. Well, that was prior to them voting on it. When the proposal went before the Public Service Commission, which regulates utilities for most of the state, no outside groups submitted arguments against the deal. As a result, Commissioner Devontae Lewis told Floodlight at the time, voting against the sale could have been considered arbitrary and capricious, possibly resulting in litigation. But Commissioner Devontae Davis also received campaign donations from this group. And his reasoning was he accepted the money prior to them wanting to purchase or buy into the Entergy space. Listen, I just want somebody, maybe Lindell is out there listening. Lindell keeps his political ear to the street. Maybe he can tell me or help me better understand how is this even legal, because the article goes on to say that it's legal. So my question would be, if it's legal to put money in the coffers of entities that have to vote on something that you then have to go before them for approval of, how is that not a conflict of interest? Because where is my buy-in to my constituents to say this is good or not good for the community if I'm profiting from it in a way that helps me stack money into my coffer for public office? So when I get ready to run for office, I have all of these hundreds of thousands of dollars given to me by the very people that I'm now forced or expected to vote on. That seems like a clear conflict of interest. And I know, as a school leader, you know, when it was time for us to do our modules and continuing learning hours and whatnot, we took ethics. We had to always do our ethics modules. And there were so many things you couldn't accept gifts you can't accept, tickets you can't accept, flowers you can't accept, because they didn't want it to look as though this was some sort of quid pro quo thing going on, like you're accepting these things from businesses or from parents, and then you're put in a position where now you don't want to have to go against the business or the parent because they've done these things for you. I'm just trying to figure out, what's the purpose of ethics? What's the purpose of conflicts of interest if folk can put hundreds of thousands of dollars into campaign finances for people running for office, and then those very people are then tasked with having to vote to approve deals for the very companies that are lining their pockets? I'm trying to understand, how is this not a conflict of interest? This is scary to me in terms of allowing companies, so we're just privatizing everything around here. I don't know. I'm just alarmed that I didn't know about this. I'm just learning about this. I have several articles opened up because I'm just trying to understand, how is there no pushback? And then I heard there was a quite a few folk who were at the council, and everybody that the customers, the regular folk, were against it. They say nearly a dozen people and organizations gave public comments on this, all opposed to the sale, and approximately 80 people submitted online comments. But it was still voted and passed in New Orleans, and voted on and passed in Baton Rouge, voted on and passed by the Public Works Commission. Like, I don't know. I need somebody to help me. So anybody who has more expertise or more insight in this, if you're listening to this, the number here is 504-582-9422. They say other opponents of the sale say any kind of rate increase will be an economic burden for the city's low-income residents, the folks who already can't afford to pay Entergy. I think that I don't know. I am really stunned, to be honest, because when I say I knew nothing about this, zero, didn't know anything about it. And I just learned about it. And so now I'm engrossed in trying to better understand it. Bernhard Capital Partners, the Baton Rouge-based private equity firm behind Delta Utilities, is led by Jim Bernhardt, a former state Democratic Party chair and prolific political campaign donor. I'm assuming this is Katie Bernhardt's father. Your intent to approve the sale after less than a week of public input, to be decided less than a week before Christmas, is shameful. That's what Jack Sweeney, co-chair of the local chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, says. Shameful. They slid that right on in there before we went to the Christmas break. So many folk probably didn't even know that this was happening. Well, there were 80 people who submitted comment cards and a dozen folk who were at the city council. So shout out to those people for being in the know or informed enough to show up. I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know what to make of this. I hear that the council supported it because it's a way for gas folk to just focus on gas and Entergy folk to just focus on Entergy, so it can make the handling of the business more streamlined. I'm hearing that they've promised to make their headquarters here in New Orleans as part of the deal. I'm hearing that they're supposed to not raise the rates for 15 months as a part of the deal. But if it's all if Entergy is already a burden on regular folk, promising not to raise it for 15 months isn't necessarily a solution. I don't really know, but I'm confused, but I want to be unconfused, and I just want people to answer like a few questions for me. I have some questions. I want to know this. This is what I want to know. I want to know what elected officials, including City Council, who regulates utilities, hold shares in either of these companies. Who on the City Council voted against it or voted for it? There's just a lot of things I want to know because private equity firms are not publicly traded, so financial information is not transparent. Both Entergy and this company are both for-profit companies, talking about the Bernhardt Company, who answers to their shareholders. So where does that leave taxpayers? Like, where does that leave folk who are already struggling to understand why Entergy rates continue to increase, why we can't get a living wage in this city? I just want to know these things. And also, too, in an article, it outlines all of the folk who receive campaign donations from these people. But I would like to know if any of our city council members receive campaign contributions from the companies that they're now asked to vote on in terms of our Entergy sources here. I just want to know that. I want to know that, and I'm also being told that Bernhardt was the principal owner of the Shaw Group, the giant FEMA master contractor post-Katrina. I don't know if y'all remember the Shaw Group, but I don't. I want answers, and I need them to align in the best interest of community. And part of our conversation at Kwanzaa last night was about accountability and how do we hold folks accountable to the things that matter to regular folk. I don't understand how we could go for a vote like this, and when everybody showed up, they say, no, we don't want this. At least that could have urged us to put it on hold or to think it through a little more, get more public input, see what this is going to do to an already struggling populace of people. I don't understand it, and I have questions, and I just hope somebody can give me some answers. But we have to go to break, and when we come back from break, we'll be in conversation with Dr. Eric Jones. We'll have that and a whole lot more right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
This is Monica Pierre along with Sally Ann Roberts Daybone, co-host of Your Power is On.
Your Power is On Gospel Music Show is coming on at a new time. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. for music that feeds the spirit. Get your Sunday on.
Right here on WBOK 1230 AM and WBOK1230.com, the station you listen to
all day long.
Ever have one of those days where your gut just feels blah?
Ugh, yes.
Occasional bloating or gas could be signs that your gut is out of balance, but Align Probiotic can help. Align 24/7 Digestive Support is a daily use probiotic with a unique strain to help relieve occasional digestive issues. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand. So when you feel the signs, it's time to try Align. Align Probiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Metropolitan Human Services District wants to remind you that treatment is effective and everyone can recover. If you are looking for a recovery program and you live in the Orleans, St. Bernard, or Plaquemines Parish, visit mhsdla.org or call 504-568-3130. Recovery is possible, and MHSD is here to help. Metropolitan Human Services District, where we change lives.
Well, look who it is.
We all love a surprise, but not if it's flu or COVID. If you're 65 or older, vaccines are your best defense against severe flu and COVID this fall and winter. Getting both vaccines helps protect you from severe illness and also cuts your hospitalization risk in half. This season, protect yourself.
Surprise!
So the surprises you get are the good ones. Risk less, do more. Get started at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open.
With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 1230 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Hey, this is Michael Cooper of Confunction, and I'd like to wish all of the WBOK listeners a happy and safe holiday.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 a.m.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 a.m.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Friday, y'all. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wise. Super producer Nyron Sanders is also in studio. And right now, the guest of the hour, the man that I've been waiting to talk to since the school board race, Eric Doc Jones, is with us in studio this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How
Doc.
are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
So listen, you know, we here at WBOK, we want to make certain that we give you an opportunity to have an in-depth conversation because, again, we've been talking about you on here week after week when we were in campaign mode.
Yeah.
And the race didn't go your way. But let's talk about the whys of that, right?
Yeah.
And so, but first of all, I want to thank you for offering yourself up to service.
Yeah.
That is not an easy thing to do, especially when the deck is stacked against you, and that's what we're here to talk about. You had quite a few hit pieces written about you. You had quite a few allegations made about you. There was so many questions out there. There was a hot seat that took place that you did not participate in, and I have questions about all of that.
Okay.
So let's talk about it.
Well, first, let me just thank you, Doc, and thank Oliver, and thank WBOK for your consistency, your constant work in the media as it relates to getting the word out to our neighborhoods, to our community. And I think that's essential. I think that's important. I also want to tell the audience the one thing in this race that I want all voters or people listening, as a black man, I'm still standing no matter what. So they didn't assassinate my character. They tried to dismantle it, in their opinion. But when you spend $250,000 in the primary, and I win by 44% of the vote of their candidate that they were pushing, the same stuff they pushed in the primary was the same stuff they pushed in the runoff. However, they attached it to their candidate in the primary. They did not attach it to the candidate in the runoff. And the reason for that was because this race wasn't even about her. This race even wasn't about black children, black families, black parents. This race was about me being a threat. When you spend $250,000, I'm not their concern. I'm a threat to them.
So let's get into that, right? And because there are things that folk want to know. There are things that I want to know.
Good.
And I want to start this conversation by saying last week when I had the opportunity to talk about degrees and credentials and titles, to me, none of that equates to effectiveness in any space. Is it a bonus to have a degree? Absolutely it is. Is it a bonus to come with a credential? Absolutely it is. But community service doesn't necessarily need those things. So my question to you, which was one of the issues that they were writing about, your name is, how should I, I'm Dr. Wyatt.
And you can call me Dr. Jones.
Are you Dr. Jones?
Yeah.
So in order for me to call you Dr. Jones, you went to somebody's
I went to two
higher
schools.
education.
I went to
Let's
multiple.
talk about that.
I went to multiple schools, and my degrees are not in question. But I would just.
But they are.
But to them
So
they
let's
are.
clear it
But
up.
let me just do this. I wish I hadn't had. Well, let me just say this. I'm still paying loans at Walton, I'm paying loans. And if you read the flyer I put out, it didn't say I got the doctorate from Harvard. It said I got a leadership certificate.
Oh, I said that on air.
But
so
let's be clear. And nobody looked at that.
Mhm.
And that came when I was doing my tenure with Teach for America. So let's be clear with that. But Walton, I'm still paying.
Okay.
I wish I would have been one of those ones when Biden was loan forgiveness. I didn't get that. So that's why I am with that. Now, here's what I will say. Let's start with just high school. If we're going to talk about holding a black man accountable for whatever you want to allegedly, because that's what they say, allegedly, and they use those terms very lightly and loosely because you can't go back and charge them with something because it's only alleged. But let's look at her experience and mine. GED, high school diploma. Let's not go beyond that. But no one wants to talk about that. People want to hold me accountable for what they tried to destroy my character. But no one to this day, other than WBOK, other than Dr. Shante Wyatt, said anything about what? Experience.
Because if we're going to talk about journalism, right? These media articles that put these things out are real journalism powerhouses. So my concern was that they were doing a lot to dress you down, but they weren't doing anything to address anything over there. It should have been more balanced. And let me tell you to your
not
face
one time.
what I said behind your back. You are not my favorite person. You know that. I told you that. So it was no reason for me to say one thing. Anything I say, I can stand on. So me defending you in that instance should have told a multitude of people something ain't right here. No, you're not my favorite person. I've said that, but at the end of the day, if we're going to talk lack of credentials on his part, you all got to talk about lack of credentials on her part. Is a credential a qualifier for public office? If it's not, then why are we talking about it? The reason they're talking about it is because you are saying that that a degree was conferred, a doctorate degree in whatever field was conferred from Walden University.
That's a
fact. That is your stance, right?
That's a fact.
So he says that's a fact.
That's a fact.
So let's check that off. We don't even got to keep talking about
Yeah,
it.
that's fine.
I want the answers from you because you and
That's a
I are
fact.
having a conversation.
That's
We're
a
not going to
fact.
dance around it.
We don't have to.
We're
That's
going
a
to talk
fact.
about
That's
it.
a fact.
That's a fact.
But
because understand, Doc, I was also under the gun about
I was getting ready
real credential.
I was getting ready to say that.
But I'm credentialed from the university of Louisiana.
Fine university, fine HBCU.
So I understand that. I understand cowardice attacks when people can go for low-hanging fruit. So they said you didn't have a doctorate, you were not a doctor, but they never said she doesn't have a doctorate either.
But
she doesn't have a master's. She doesn't have, and there's no shot against any of that. But if we're talking journalism and we're stacking pros and cons, then it has to be equitable. Because I don't want to say fair, because nothing about what happened to you is fair. Let's talk about this idea of why did you opt out of the WDSU high school?
I'm gonna tell you why. I didn't opt out of anything.
That's what
But you asked the question. Let me answer the question. I did not opt out of anything.
Right.
Matter of fact, I was the one engaged with Mako to say why we wasn't having a hot seat in September. My campaign manager, my campaign advisors all reached out. We have emailed to support that. They determined they wouldn't do it in the primary. All of a sudden I get this email out the blue saying, hey, we want to do it now. But at that time I had other scheduled stuff. So I even sent to them, I said, since I'm the one who initiated it, why can't we do it during the time that I'm available to do it?
That's fair.
And I'll show you the emails. That's one thing I love. Yeah, it is. And you know what they did? He said he would come back, and Michael said he would come back to me. I have emails that support that. Not one time did he come back.
So let me be clear, Doc. And when I'm saying it's not me saying it.
I get it.
I'm saying per WDSU that you opted out, not
But
me
I have
saying
documentation
that.
to prove otherwise.
Because here is what I know, and I'm gonna say this very openly, right? I thought it was kind of strange that y'all were getting a hot seat to begin with. Because when I ran for Bessie, which is a state seat, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do a hot seat.
But Doc, you know what that's being pushed. I see. We want to talk about all these things, but let's talk about the elephant in this city.
Well, that's
not in this space. Let's talk about the elephant in this city.
Okay.
Who controls what? So historically, if we want the historical context, let's talk about the historical context.
Okay.
Let's start from day one when the surface of the charter arrived in this city. Let's talk about New School New Orleans. Let's talk about the ed reformers. Let's talk about the advocate who supported. Let's talk about Leslie Jacob. All these people who started all these things.
And in full transparency, we got to talk about you.
I don't have a doc. I don't have a listen.
Okay.
I don't come on a show running from anything.
All
I just
right.
want this to be equitable and fair, and allow me to provide the answers that
Got
are
you.
necessary, so the hearers can hear it
I'm with
coming
you.
from me, not
I'm with
coming
you.
from anybody else, because that's been a problem. Everybody's been speaking for me,
you, yeah.
but me.
Okay.
And I think I deserve the right to speak for me if I don't have a problem coming to face whatever hot seat or whatever conversation people are having around this city, because I don't question my ability to do what I've done in this city.
Right.
No, I'm unapologetic at the work I've done in this city, because I have more good in me than I have whatever person's opinion about what they thought I did and what they thought I did not do. And I invite anybody who wants to sit down with me one-on-one to have an in-depth conversation, not what they thought they saw,
Right.
but an in-depth conversation about who I am as a person. Then you're going to realize that's maybe he had a motive to or motivation to think he can infiltrate opposed to get caught in the foolishness.
Okay.
That's what I want people to understand. But and I welcome that to anybody.
Okay.
But when I realized helping the reformers, when I realized that the reformers wasn't trying to help black children, I took a different stand. I didn't see that at the beginning because I was not looking from the balcony.
Okay.
I
Listen,
couldn't see.
That's a bold statement. So when did you realize that?
I realized that when I started hearing Erase the Board having a conversation, when I started hearing you having a conversation, when I started looking at the direction that they were going in, it was a conviction for me to say, no, that's not helping black children. When we looked at choice or we looked at what it was, my motive was not to detach or go against public education. I'm a product of public education. That wasn't my.
Which was puzzling for me, right?
It could have been in terms of what you're looking at from your lenses, but it may have not been if we had a conversation, sit down and say, "What was your thought in this, Doc?"
And here's the thing that let me tell you, and I'll say this: that's a bold thing to say, because even our congressman made that same declaration when he supported Act 91 and helped us get to where we were. He even said when he realized that it was no longer doing, or it was not doing what they set out to do with it, it wasn't getting the outcomes that they wanted, he made the declaration that maybe we need to course correct here, right?
Yeah,
that was
but
his
but
words.
here's the thing about our congressman. He gets the level of forgiveness at whatever level he's at. But for me, I didn't get that. What I got was direct attacks, which hit me out, which probably in anybody's right, their thoughts and I don't knock that. Everybody has their right to feel the way they feel, and it probably was justifiable in the way they felt.
But Doc, it didn't. The attacks you're talking about came from the camp that you once supported. We didn't write articles about you.
I'm not talking about the president. I was talking about the path to get to the president. You can't get to the
because no, because I want to have a streamlined conversation.
Yeah, and then we are going to have it.
What I'm saying to you, hold on, wait 1 second. What I'm saying to you is, we went after that's why the congressman, because I wanted to know from him. The congressman is Algiers, like I'm Algiers.
Yes.
So we have family conversations, right? I could talk to him like family. So
absolutely.
Please don't think that nobody helped. And what I love about him is he can publicly say, I supported this, and it's not working, so we have to course correct. He publicly said that.
And I did the same thing, and that's why I love Troy Carter. That's why I respect the leadership of his work in this city and even in this country. What I was saying, Doc, was this: when I looked at the journey of what these individuals did in the last election, school board election, the one thing I realized was this. The minute I took a change at, you guys are not doing this right. Well, you know what's going to happen to me.
Came.
They're going to hit as much as they can hit, because here's the thing. If I was all those bad things prior to me running, why wasn't that exposed then?
So that's the question. That's the question. And you were the MVP of the squad at one point, right?
I guess so.
And so let's be very clear. You were the MVP of the squad. You were handling their prize horse at the time, right?
Yeah.
So my question, and I said it right here on the air, whatever these hit pieces are about, all of this information that Verite is putting out, all of these articles, all of these things, if true, were true about you when you were
Yeah,
working
when I was supporting their
Right.
mission, their vision, their purpose, all of that.
So now my question is, why do you think it was so important to destroy you in a way that they did, or try to destroy you in a way that they did, when at once you were, you were their
But
their MVP.
I could tell you why. Because at the end of the day, you become a threat when you partner with people who want to do what's right by children.
Do you know where the bones are buried?
Listen.
Do you?
Yeah. Do I know what they have done? Absolutely. Do I know some of the things that they've done that I think is not right? I'll give you a good example of that. We look at the last 2-3 superintendents.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we have not done any community outreach. We know we've done, even if they did a national search, we know that was not designed to do just by doing it, because it's just done.
We did a national search. We went right next door.
Yeah, right. You know that, and so we know who control the outcome, because we know who the number of people. Leslie Jacob.
Okay, well,
Leslie Jacob. Listen, Leslie Jacob controls the school district. Leslie Jacob's brother, Stephen Rosenthal, I have no problem with saying that, and they know I tell it to them to their face.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to New School New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
one of the founding members of that New School New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here's what I say to people. When you see what's wrong and you don't make right,
Yeah.
you're just as guilty as the people that's doing wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the attacks that they thought they were going to ostracize me or stop me from breeding, that didn't happen.
Because let's be very clear.
That didn't happen.
Let's be very clear. The very first time I met you, and Oliver says this as well. Oliver says the first time he met you was inside of an
Classroom.
educational environment, right?
Yeah.
The very first time I met you, I don't know if you're going to remember this, but the very first time I met you, I was working for Renew Schools, and they brought you in as a consultant.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to vet you or any of that, because the entity that I work for brought you
But
into
they also
our
said,
space.
but they also said I didn't do anything there too. So let's be clear.
But that's not true.
But
because,
they also said that.
But I
they
came
also
out
wrote,
and I said,
yeah, they also said that.
In defense of you,
Yeah,
when that
yeah.
comment was made, I said that can't be true, because when I first met you, that's the same way that I the first time I met the guy from Overcoming Racism. Y'all were at the same meeting.
Yeah.
Of the same professional development.
Yeah.
That's the first time I met him,
Yeah.
and that's the first time I met you.
Absolutely.
And so I remember that. I was an assistant principal at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you. I
Yeah.
personally spoke to you.
Yes.
So that's not true.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I'm having, for folk to try to erase the history of it all. Because even on this station, I said, if you had 2 years of educational experience, you had 2 years more than your opponent. So I didn't understand why we were lying, or you were being accused of lying about it, because I can tell you Renew goes back a ways for me, so that's at least a bunch of years
But
right
you know
there for you.
the threat.
I was confused about that
The
part.
threat was getting on that board with an agenda that was to continue the movement or the effort to return these schools back into a structure that our children are well deserving
Can I
of.
say something, though? I agree with you, but can I say this?
Yeah.
My other struggle with this, right, was because you were fiercely supported by Senator Dr. Joseph Bowie.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Out loud supported by
Yes.
him. So my struggle with with your race is, even if they did not care for you, we're talking about what you are in position to do for children on behalf of the senator.
Yeah.
If you support Dr. Bowie,
I supported 100%.
and I'm talking about them.
I
If
support
they-
him
if
100%.
If they supported Dr. Bowie and he said rock left, they should have been rocking left. That's what they should have been doing. And that's the problem I'm having.
But they don't. But Doc, they don't respect Dr. Bowie's work. They're wrong for that. This is the most decorated educator in this city, in this state. He is a brilliant individual. I love him. I respect him, and I value his thoughts. And to get his support, and to have him sit down with me. Matter of fact, his statement to me after the election was over was so profound, because what he said to me, which helped me get through even the thought
'cause that was a
process,
lot
right?
going on with you,
The
yeah.
thought process. He
Mhm.
said to me, "Thank you for putting yourself out there." And he say, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, "You are a real black man."
Mhm.
He brought back the essence in my life.
Mhm.
Like now I feel what I lost. I feel now. You know, when I was questioning who I was as a person in this race, he put that back into my life because he invested.
Yeah.
He invested in this mission for black children. He invested in this mission for educating all children, but particularly making sure that our city have a high quality educational structure and a system in place. He did that, and so for me, I'm blessed.
If you are just tuning in, we're in conversation with Eric Doc Jones, a recent candidate for the Orleans Parish School Board. And if you want to join into the conversation, the number here is 504-582-9422. But Doc, I'm going to tell you before we go to break, every loss ain't a loss. You understand?
Thank you.
Stay with us. On the other side of the break, we'll have more conversation with Eric Doc Jones. Hold for me, Rev. I'll get to you right outside of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
The National World War II Museum. Located in the Warehouse District of New Orleans, the National World War II Museum tells the story of America's experience in the war that changed the world. Why it was fought, how it was won, and what it means today. Visit them online at www.nationalww2museum.org for time tickets and safety information.
This holiday season, are you looking for the perfect phones and accessories for your family? Stop by the only black-owned AT&T franchise in the Gulf Coast region, located at 3616 South Carrollton Ave. We also have great offers on watches and tablets. When you add a new line or upgrade whatever your needs, our team is here to help you find the perfect phone for everyone on your list. Visit us at 3616 South Carrollton Ave. Happy holidays from your local family-owned AT&T store.
Are you ready to make a difference in your community? Join me, Randy Chambliss, and my co-hosts Dion Dana and Barry Mallory on Helping the Village Radio Show, where we raise awareness, advocate for real solutions, and coordinate supportive services to prevent and reduce homelessness. We're connecting the dots to build stronger, thriving communities. Tune in every first and third Saturday at 2 p.m. as we collaborate with local leaders, real estate investors, and nonprofits, working together to provide hope and opportunity for those in need. Helping the Village Radio Show, empowering change one community at a time.
Hi, this is Dr. Shepard. I just want to say happy holidays to you and yours.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to The Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Super producer Nyron Sanders is behind the glass holding us all together. And in studio right now, we're talking to Eric Doc Jones. The phone lines are open. The number here is 504-582-9422. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call. Line 1, Reverend Calhoun. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year's to both of you guys. Doc, both docs. I'm trying to look a little bit at the end game. Given the vision you guys and the background you guys have and seeing how this whole thing has been playing out, I do believe that there's something that really is damaging to our school system as a whole. Again, I've often stated about I see it as being defunded. But Eric, maybe you can help me understand a little better as to the end game. We know most of the players, but what do you see and how it's going to impact our neighborhoods, our community, our children with the way it's being done now? Like you said, they spent $250,000 for a school board seat. I can't believe that there's no loyalty to those people who have where that money comes from whom that money came. I don't believe that the business community was co-opt to just sit by and say nothing, because it was the business community that Ms. Jacobs used to get control over the board. So I'm trying to find out, just in your opinion, in both of you guys' opinion, what do you see the end game is? Is it for the complete destruction of public education? What, in your opinion, do you see coming?
Thank you, Rev.
Up and listen.
Appreciate you.
Want me to answer?
You got the floor.
Yeah, I love it. So one, we talking about real estate. We're talking about buildings. So we're talking about rotating buildings from one charter operator or CMO to another. But when you look at how many new schools have been given to the people that they've been giving them to, let's talk about KIPS. Let's talk about renewals. Let's talk about collegiates. Guess who on all three of those boards? Steve Rosenthal.
He's on 3 different charter
I'm
management
I'm going to say it again. So when you talk about real estate and who got all of those schools, let's talk about who's on those 3 boards. Collegiate Academy, Steve Rosenthal. Renewal, Steve Rosenthal. KIP, founding board member. So all of those 3 CMOs, or what we call system of schools, they're the ones getting most of those schools, other than Inspire NOLA on the West Bank, who's crossed over from West Bank to East Bank. But for the most part, you do the record in terms of that. So that's one thing. The second thing is, when that floodgate opened to bring back Lear Chase School under dynamic leader Dr. Baptiste, they knew then that this was a pathway to get all schools to do what? Come back. So they don't want public education. They want systems of schools. That was Leslie's dream from the beginning. And if y'all go back and check any historical context about Leslie Jacob as related to what she decided to do when she was on the school board, then when she went to Bessie and served under Governor Blanco, when she was appointed to that board, because she wasn't elected to that board, her whole issue was, I'm coming back. And it's not about children. That's what I had to wake up on. As much as I want to do what's right by children, that group of people wasn't doing right by children.
How does she profit?
I don't know. Now, honestly, I don't know what the profit looks like that. But if you talk about insurance, and I don't know that for a fact. Now, that's what I do not have. And if I did, I would tell you guys. But I don't see it. But I think her issue was more to dismantle, because of her experience on that board when she served on the Orleans Parish School Board with members on that board who, 1, did not respect her, 2, wasn't going to let her have her way. And so when she didn't run that second term.
Oh, she wants revenge?
That's what it has always been, that and that alone.
Miss Alicia, line 2, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
That second term. Oh, she wants revenge?
I love it.
That's what
Miss Alicia?
always been, that and that alone.
Miss Alicia, we lost you. Can you give us a call right back? Good morning. I'm Treese. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. Trees? Listen, people are calling, but I'm not sure what is happening here. Miss Alicia Plummer and Miss Trees Coward, could y'all give us a call back? Good morning, Cedric. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, good morning, good morning to Doc and Doc. It is my pleasure because I know both of you, and I tell you, it's nice to see the two of you together. Dr. Bowie, thank you. Dr. Bowie, thank you. To Trees, to all of you all who fight for our children, thank you. Now, my question, I want to focus on this area to the both of you. What happened to our zeal in reference to voting, in reference to supporting our children? If we all are parents, grandparents, godparents, aunts, and uncles, why aren't we caring about the state of education? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you so much, Cedric.
So, in the primary, we got 44% of the vote. That's during the presidential race. In the runoff, it was less than 10% people voted. But even in the primary, only 58% of people voted in this city. So when we look at those numbers, we have to get back to the culture of the why we should vote and the importance of voting, right? In particular on issues like public education. They're getting ready, and I want to bring this up, Doc, they're getting ready, and already in their mind, they have in their mind who they want to serve as the superintendent. These are the reformers. They got two names out there. They got Sharon Clark and Jamal McNeely. And in my opinion, neither...
Is that breaking news?
In my opinion, when you look at experience and where this dysfunctional school district is, that's not two people ready to take on that huge responsibility. I think we have local talent that historically can get that job done, but I think it ought to be public engagement and not political engagement.
Let's take another call. Miss Alicia, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. First, let me just say this for what you just said, Dr. Jones. We know that Dr. Ashanta White is more than qualified than anybody you just mentioned and the past superintendent who just got her bonus and left. We know that. We fought for Dr. Ashanta White to be the superintendent. We, the people, engaged, and we practically begged and dragged her name into that purpose because if you remember, their first choice was John Brown's daughter. And we put a stop to that. So they go over to Alabama to get Williams. But let me say this. What you didn't say, Dr. Jones, was the history. And for what I understand, Leslie Jacobs, who could not pass the test to get in Newman, had to have the maid take the test to get her in Newman, her own Jewish school. And her dad, for 100 years, I'm being facetious, had Rosenthal insurance. You know, when we went on field trips and we had parents had to buy the insurance or the athletes had to pay for insurance and stuff, they were paid to Rosenthal Insurance. And when Colonel Davis came on board as the superintendent, he looked at contracts, which he rightfully should have done, and saw those big contracts and decided, you know, there's a lot of money. These contracts can be broken up so other people can eat. Well, she didn't like that. Took that money from her dad and her dad's company. And her hatefulness for black children need to be called out. Caroline Roma has no business speaking for our children. You see, they never go to Dr. Bowie to ask Dr. Bowie the education questions. Never. They never go to Dr. Bowie and ask Dr. Bowie curriculum. Never. But they get these cronies who are okay to take the money. And you know, Dr. White, I ran with you when you ran. We went through all the highways and byways and the countries and everything. And the people loved you. But see, people need to understand and educate themselves about voting. When these people can come and give these ABC PACs money and put those people on their ballot, because they know traditionally our people walk in these voting booths with a ballot and just go straight down the line. That's how you didn't win. And then the people wonder, well, wait. What did that little girl win? That's who we wanted, but you went down the line on the ballot. And they know that. They'd like to keep the public ignorant. I have no respect for Step Up. Step Up New Orleans, Step Up Louisiana, because one of the head leaders of that is the one who controlled that endorsement. Vote, run by two murderers, had the audacity to tell us what's good for our children? I guess so, because they didn't have anything either to education. They want our children to be controlled by someone who has no education. Is that what we're telling our children now? You don't have to strive to be this, that, and the other, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. You don't have to, because she didn't, and look where she is. I'm tired of the games. I wish you would tell the dirt, because they know, you know where the bones are buried, and that's what we're here for. We're here to see what the bones are, to hear what the bones are. Leslie Jacobs and her brother, Stephen Rosenthal, with KIPP, is making generational after generation after generational monies off the backs of our children. And it's only black children, because the majority of white children go to the elite schools here. And one of the school board members, his name, Carlos Zervigon, when he ran for school board, he told me to my face he's running to make sure his children are protected up there at Audubon. And that's all they're concerned about. Nobody's concerned about our children but Dr. Bowie. And unfortunately, Dr. Batiste was the fighter. And now since he's going to be gone, our children are going to be worse. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you for the time. Well, last thing I want to say, Reverend Calhoun, we know the end game. The end game is for our children to be working in these hotels, in these restaurants, and getting this plantation salary. That's the end game. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Miss Alicia. Listen, we appreciate all of our callers. It's an intense conversation happening, but I need to be Treese and James, please hold on to the other side of the break. I want to hear from you, but I have to say that the opinions shared by our guests and callers are their own and don't necessarily reflect the views of WBOK 1230 AM or our team. We're here to provide a platform for open conversation, not to take sides or make any claims ourselves. If you have any thoughts, we encourage you to connect with us and join in the conversation, and you could do so at 504-582-9422. We'll be back with that and a whole lot more right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Mike Island with 4 things you should know on the Black Information Network. The name of the woman accusing rapper Jay-Z of rape will not be made public. A New York judge on Thursday says the now 38-year-old woman can remain anonymous. The woman claimed that Jay-Z, along with Sean Diddy Combs, drugged and raped her in 2000 when she was 13. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the first severe case of bird flu in the country is showing signs of mutation. According to the CDC, the Louisiana patient's sample shows mutations affecting the way it attaches to host cells. Fans of the film Wicked can celebrate New Year's Eve watching it at home. Universal Pictures will make it available to buy or rent on digital platforms on December 31st. AAA says the numbers are back to where they were before the pandemic. It says close to 120 million people will travel 50 miles or more through January 1st. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans wants to send a huge congratulations to all of our educators, students, and families of New Orleans for their continuous academic growth. School performance scores have been released from the state. For the first time in many years, there are no failing schools in New Orleans Public Schools. As a district, our performance increased by 4 points. In addition, Orleans Parish now exceeds pre-COVID school performance score for all students by 6.2 points. When you see a teacher, school leader, or student, be sure to show them some love.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Nyra Sanders, is behind the glass holding us down. And in studio right now, we're talking to Eric Doc Jones, former candidate for the New Orleans Public School System or System of Schools School Board. If you're just joining us and you want to join the conversation, the number here is 504-582-9422. We're going to go straight to the lines because we've had our callers waiting, but I do want you to respond to Miss Alicia. Good morning, Treese. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, Docs. Before you had started speaking on the real estate portion of this practice scheme that they have going on with our kids, so I want to hear a little bit more about how the real estate situation is actually one of the reasons, because I know quite a few people who came here from out of state that came here dirt poor and left owning homes and was able to move back home and things of that nature. Also, my second part of the question is, you brought up Leslie Jacobs, and a lot of us know that boogeyman in the room of her. But who else are in those rooms that we don't know about? Like you mentioning people saying like the air reformers, but who are those people that we think that are working for us and riding for us that are really the people that you got to kiss the ring for to get to her? Because a lot of times people not understanding, people not going vote because we have a lot of people that we trust telling us to vote or deal with people that then turn around and sell us out. And we don't know who those people are because they're being well hidden or they being spoken about in the day terms.
Well, we got to start. We got to start.
Thank you, Treese.
I'm sorry. We got to start with people that look like us too. We got to look at the Dana Petersons of the world with New School New Orleans. We got to look at Terrence Lockett with DEFA. We got to look at folk who Patrick Dobar. You got to look at those people who are still in position and doing those things, and not taking in consideration that the children that we're talking about look just like them. And again, that's not on their conscience because they got to follow specific instructions from the person you say. But the other thing I want to say about real estate, when I talk about real estate, I'm talking about building facilities, school facilities these are renovated or brand new construction that they've done, and they're using those to give to those individuals who are in that circle.
Listen, the phone lines are lit up. Good morning, James. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, doctors. OT would say this, to all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickle, onion on a sesame seed bun. Now, I'm not qualified at all to think about this. The only thing that I can contribute is what Treese said. The real estate portion was intriguing to me because I see that as soon as that school on Gentilly closed, that sucker went up for sale immediately. So, and it also boasts 3 buildings, so that property will probably be renovated with somebody that they related to under the organization, the Bernhardt organization, some shadow group. They're going to get and they're going to probably end up turning those buildings into condos. They're no longer a part of the Catholic schools, the Catholic portfolio. They were, I guess, turned over to that charter system. And now somebody's about to break bread with those buildings. The other thing, which you said, Doc, coming out of the break, I was thinking coming out of the break, they are masterful. Just listening to that break song with the NOLA School, what it's called, the NOLA School commercial, the one where they're saying we have no fail in school.
New Schools for New Orleans is commercial.
Yeah, the one we know they lying, where if you listen, they'll hypnotize you almost with that Frankie Beverly and make you put all that, I'll bust up to that we got no fail in schools. Good job, Larry. Keep it going. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. You just brought up that there's a lady that is over this, that probably they use us against us to fool us. So I just want to say I pay attention well, and it seems to me that you two in the studio together is the spirit moving, and all these people calling that know about that are more qualified to deal with the school board issues. Sound like we got our school board, and we need to start putting together a plan right here on this here radio, so it ain't no secret, and we come up with something to get y'all involved to run our system. I'm going to hang up and listen.
Thank you. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I echo and I agree. I want to say this. I strongly believe that Dr. Wyatt will be a super superintendent. She knows the community. She knows the neighborhood. She knows the schools. She's very knowledgeable about bringing back the structure in the system, both traditional and charter. And so we don't have to look far for that. And so what they've done, because you was outspoken, doesn't mean we should not be rallying and continue to rally to make sure we find pathways to do that. I just want to say that. And I'm not saying that because you feel I wasn't your favorite person. But when you know what's right, you speak what's truth. And so I want to say that. The second thing I want to say is this. When you listen to that commercial, if the commercial is saying, and this is misinformation takes place. When we talk about we have no failing schools, well, if we have no failing schools, why are you closing MLK? If you have no failing schools, if New School New Orleans have it on their air, if the board itself, New Orleans Public School Board said that this was the first time that we don't have any failing schools, great job. Why are we closing MLK if it's no failing school? That's the first thing. Then we talk about another school called Dolores Taylor. You talking about a school that was $2 million in deficit. We have a district that miscalculated $36 million. So how do you hold a school district, a charter school, with a problem that you yourself can't even solve at the district level? That's not fair. And you can't substitute that with, oh, we got the money to correct that. No, you don't.
Which ties back into Miss Alicia's comment
Absolutely.
that she wanted to address.
Yes.
Miss Alicia was talking about Leslie Jacobs and this. You spoke to it earlier. It seems to be some sort of get back.
Yeah.
Because there was something that they were controlling, and they broke up the conglomerate, and now this is what.
Yeah, and I think they felt threatened that knowing that I was coming in, it was going to be a serious change, so they rallied behind getting all that money, $250,000 to do that. But we're gonna fight it even at another level. So I'm not worried about that. We're gonna continue to fight and gonna continue to call it out. We have to stop the Leslie Jacobs of the world. And we have to be committed to doing that. We have to constantly call it out. We have to constantly have those conversations. We have to constantly expose it. I don't think Leslie Jacobs has a thought in her mind to help black children. Period.
And
I'll say that.
I'll reiterate this. The
Period.
views expressed during this segment are not those representative of the station of WBOK.
It's my own opinion.
I said that because I'm about to talk.
Okay.
As Dr. Wyatt.
I
This
understand.
is me talking.
I
right?
understand.
And I want to be very clear about something. I have no problem calling a thing a thing. I have no problem calling you by the name your mama gave you, because that's the name your mama gave you, right? I believe that every single time, and we're in the spirit of Kwanzaa right now, right? And the entire thing about Kwanzaa is getting back to the foundations of who we are as people. And who we are as people, we ain't never been no punks. We ain't never been nobody that run from no fights, whether it's a figurative fight or a literal fight. That is not who we are. That is not natural in New Orleans. That's not where we come from. So my problem, every time we have this kind of conversation, we can't never have one band, one sound.
But we should.
That's our problem.
But we should.
We always have people that want to tiptoe around what the real elephant in the room is. We know the problem. We know what she looked like. We know her full name.
Yeah.
We know everything attached to her. So I want somebody to tell me, how is it that you can know the target and you keep missing it? How you know her? How you know her? You can call her by name. You know her when you see her. But somehow you can't put your hands on her. Like you can't make her understand that not my city, not my children. Why we can't do that? I'm trying to understand it, because here's the thing. You could come in whatever shape, form, or fashion you want to come in. If you're doing right by black children, and I'm talking about black children because that's the only people suffering under this system, right? If you can do right by them, then you wouldn't have us on your back like this. Mm-hmm. We're on your back because you're not making this comfortable for us or our children. And so it doesn't have to be the views of anything but me. That's me talking.
But it's intention.
You can even put doctor to the side and say, shout out to Fisher. I want you to understand something. Until all of us determine that what is happening to children in this city is unacceptable, it's going to continue to happen to our children and our children only. And that's the problem I'm having. I'm really trying my best to hold my mule. I swear. I swear. But it's not fair. When everybody else could color outside the lines, and we got to be very particular about how we say it and what we say and how we do it and who we say it about. But everybody else get the luxury.
But let me say this, Doc. But let me say this, Doc. Before you go to you, let me say this. It was okay for them to characterly assassinate me, and no one held them accountable.
They put your social security.
They put my social security and my full name, and no one has rallied. So I think, in my humble opinion, this is one of the best shows I've been on. It's been authentic. It's been raw. It's been real. And I'm glad it's pushing me. I'm glad it's pushing my courage. I'm glad it's pushing my thought process. I'm glad it's pushing my thinking. And I'm also glad that it's making me rally and advocate for what's right. And we are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we should continue to like this gentleman said, the doc, he said, this should be something of a platform that we take to the next level to making sure that we're not afraid to call these people out, and we should be unapologetic.
Listen, good morning, Ricky. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing?
How are you?
I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated for a few reasons. Being a native New Orleanian, growing up in Orleans Parish school systems, and coming back after I graduated from college to work in Orleans Parish school systems, I've seen a lot, and I'm really not happy with the state of how things are. One of my biggest things I have a problem with is the misinformation put out to our parents. No fault of their own, because they're only consuming what's in front of them. The misinformation that all of these schools, majority of these schools, are doing so great, just like y'all was just talking about the no-failing schools. But even going before that, when you constantly move the goalposts, when we're talking about how these schools are performing, we have an A in growth. You constantly putting out these billboards, spending thousands and thousands of dollars on these billboards, talking about these very minute and insignificant, in my opinion, details to fool and imprint on parents as they're driving to school every day. Oh, well, my baby school is an A. No, they're putting out there's an A in growth. Oh, we have 100% graduation rate. Yeah, you have to, not graduation rate, college acceptance. You have to apply to colleges in order to graduate and fill out your FAFSA and stuff. So it's nothing for the school, the individual school systems and charter organizations to mandate that, hey, we need all of these schools to all of our seniors to apply to the Delgados and things and the Nunez and stuff like that. And nothing is wrong with that. But you're inflating that all of these children are doing extremely well under this system, and it's not the case. One thing that I think that we need to do is expose these inconsistencies and these lies, to be quite honest, of what's being put out there, whether that's us doing guerrilla marketing, us putting out our own information as for what is what it is and what's not what it's not. Majority of these parents, they can't be as active and involved as they want to, because majority of New Orleans working families, they're working 9 to 5s, they're struggling, and it's hard for them to stay involved. So we have to come up with a group of individuals who have the ability to engage with these people like yourself, like Doc, like the people who I see active on social media and stuff like that, to make sure that we putting out the correct information, because an informed voter will vote. A lot of people stay out of the races per se because it's not affecting their child. You will speak to a lot of parents, and I spoke to a lot of people, well, my baby's school is this, my baby's school is that. No, your baby's school isn't what it is. They're feeding you information that's making you think that your baby's school is doing better than what it is.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Listen, the phone lines are jumping. Let's take another call. Good morning, Gladys. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. What's happening in New Orleans to mine is nothing new. It's recreated, made in America. They don't want our children educated. We need to embarrass the city and not participate in the cultural events that makes the world seem like we happy. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That's a powerful.
That's
Listen,
powerful.
You see, I feel like some people get me. Like, I feel like, shout out to Gladys. I feel like some people get me, because for me, when you keep rocking people to sleep, you know, that's what we do. We rock them to sleep. We're in all of this partying, we rocking them to sleep, and they not being able to pay attention because you got to party, because you're trying to recover from what, look, Bradisha say working 9 to 9s, right? And you need an outlet, so you're getting rocked to sleep. You can't pay attention. But as somebody who I take pride in being in the know. Yeah. The idea of this sale of energy, I didn't know nothing about. I knew nothing about it. So it's so hard when you have trauma everywhere you look, and when you're focusing on this trauma, they're exploiting this trauma. And if you pay attention to this issue, they got another issue over here. It's like they throw so many balls at us, and we can't focus on one because we juggling 9 different traumas at one time. So yeah, they gotta go party, because you need some sort of outlet, or you just gonna drown in trauma, and people gonna look at you like, why you dying? Why you dying? Now, you ain't gonna talk about the killer. You gonna ask me why I'm dying. This is insane. This is the very definition of insanity. Good morning, Reverend Kessner. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, my sister and brother.
Hey.
Enjoying the show, and of course your guests are most knowledgeable. I'm listening very closely, and what I'm hearing, again, like most of the callers say, ain't nothing new. I go back a long way. I remember the White Citizen Council. I don't know how many people even know what that was, but it still exists today in the form of Leslie Jacobs and the people that's like her. But you know what I really want to say is thanks to you, Dr. White, and Dr. Jones, Doc Jones, Eric Jones, for taking the time to come into the community and to actually speak to our people, to let them know what's really going on. You know, in opposite of that, I had a conversation with a school board member, and I'm going to call his name, I call him the ring man. Can't call his name right now, but you know, people made the rings way back.
Nolan Marshall.
Man, I couldn't believe this man. He came to our school to ask us about our programming so he could give it to the people who coming in to take over. He came in, I'm a school board member, all right. You got to go through the same system we go through. You got to check with our people, make sure that you can come in, and then when they let me know, I'll let you in. And the things that he was saying was ludicrous, so I asked him, I said, well, if you feel so strongly about that, why didn't you vote to keep our school open? I'm talking about MLK. The man told me, he said, well, Calvin, y'all didn't have the vote. Y'all, not us. Y'all didn't have the vote. And I said to him, I said, well, why you didn't make a stand and stand up? Even if we couldn't win, we know that we had people with us. His answer was, well, y'all didn't have the vote.
Wow.
But let me say this. King is not a failing school. They threw them numbers up there, and you can shape them numbers any way you want it to be. But the bottom line is, our children are dying in these schools. They're dying in these schools. They're not prepared for life because that's not part of the matrix that they want to use. All they want to know is, did you meet the score? Did you do this? Did you do that? And my answer to that was, do you know you're talking about people and not statistics? Did you see our children who know us, love us, because they know the work that we put in the trenches? Did you look in their faces? Do you know how they live it? Do you know the pain that they come into us with? Do you know what they go back home to? None of that is part of the matrix to decide who's failing and not. And I'll say this before I get off. They don't want strong black people nowhere in the mix. All they want is people who will do their bit. My hat goes off to King, Dr. Hicks, who's the founder of MLK, and a great leader. This woman been standing so long, fighting these fights when nobody else would. And what they did, disparage her name like they do you, Doc. Disparage her name and make her look like she's the enemy of the people. No, she is a stalwart and continues to fight. And she has soldiers who will continue to fight no matter what. I'm going to hang up and listen because I get emotional too, because what I see is children. What I see is parents. And I don't see them numbers like they see them. I'm going to hang up and listen. See y'all at the round table.
Thank you, Rev. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think Rev Cashmere said it all. I think, people who say we don't have the votes, that should have raised every light in the room. Like every listener that's listening to that, if we elected these people should be, and their platform talking about helping children, black children, but helping children, and we don't have the votes, like somebody would actually say we don't have the vote, someone would actually say we're not even considering the thought process because we want to close it, it's wrong, Doc. Now, that's why we have to, and that's what I'm pledging, we're going to start going to the public, going to these neighborhoods, calling it out, going to these board meetings, making sure that we hold these people accountable, not just saying it, like living, eating, and breathing it with a platform that makes sense for our children in this city. And I want to say this to you before getting off this line. Do not get frustrated or any type of thought process, because what you're doing is what someone else don't have the courage to do, Doc. They don't have the courage to do that. And the questions you ask me, we need to do this often. we need to do it often, because if we don't call these folk out, the people that they got helping them, when you talk about advocates, who controls the media?
Yeah.
Who controls that? I mean, the support I had with the Tribune, with Data News, with Louisiana Weekly, all of those people who that papers that go out to the black community, awesome. But the advocate that's controlled by those folk that we mentioned earlier, who can make that phone call. Let's just say you can make that phone call, right? You could put all that bad stuff out, but we have to tiptoe around calling folk names. That we shouldn't be, like, I'm not doing that. You shouldn't do that. And I'll say this to anybody. You invited me here to be transparent. You invited me here to talk, to tell the truth. I hope you invite me back, because I think wasn't enough time to even get in depth. This should be an exclusive. Yeah. We should be going on and on with this. This should be ongoing. Matter of fact, it should be almost like truck out on that Thursday. I ought to have a Wednesday Eric. You know what I'm saying? Called We. Well, listen, Wednesday Eric. You know.
I wanna thank you for availing yourself to us and wanting to have a transparent and open and honest dialogue to inform our listening audience about what is essentially killing our children.
Yeah.
Right? And when we talk about a structure, we have to also understand that one of the reasons why MLK failed is because we have a supposedly blind one-app system, right?
Yeah.
We have people who have the ability to determine when your your influx of students stops.
Controlling distribution.
It happened to me at Harney, right? People can go to one app and say, I want to go to Harney, and one app can say they're not open for enrollment, but I have 400 seats and I only have 238 children. So why isn't it open for enrollment, right? But you can close the school, and what you consider the undesirables, they somehow find their way in MLK.
But you missing
right?
something. They're transporting these kids from over
Right.
the MLK neighborhood.
I want you to listen to me, Doc.
Yeah.
If I'm choosing MLK and you're telling me I can't go, but
Yeah.
then miraculously when a school closes or when kids get expelled from other entities, you somehow find your way into MLK, which makes it a burden on MLK to then have to govern children who you are considering undesirable for the school they came from.
Yeah.
You're setting our schools up for failure on every front, and then you want to say y'all don't have the votes. Well, you should have known how he voted by saying y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all don't have the votes.
Yeah.
Because anything you detach yourself from, you have no buy-in with. If you could say y'all kids,
Yeah.
those kids, you don't have no buy-in with them. That's why we're suffering, because we're not looking at them as our kids. This is about our kids,
Yeah.
our neighborhood, our city,
Yeah.
our families. And anybody that could call them and they and y'all, they already telling you without telling you that they have no buy-in.
Not
with
for
you.
our children.
And I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to say it again. Y'all talk about representation matters, but you got to finish the statement. Representation matters when the agenda is about black folk, right? It's about black kids. It's about black liberation. That's when representation matters. You can't let people cosplay as black, have an agenda that doesn't serve black, and think that because they show up black, they have your interests at heart. They don't.
No.
They don't. If you want to show up black and you want to defend black children, defend black neighborhoods, defend black people, then you can't take other folk money and allow them to control the narrative. You cannot do it. That's just my opinion.
I agree.
And that's my opinion. It
I
ain't the
agree.
views of nobody but me.
I agree.
It's my opinion. So I want to thank you for coming here
Right.
and wanting to have a transparent conversation.
Yeah.
Wanting to talk about the issues. Shout out to the WBOK listening audience. I appreciate y'all so much. The comments is where I need to be. That's where the real conversation is happening. I'm at the jump in the comment section when I get off air.
Me too.
But I appreciate you,
Yeah.
Dr. Eric Jones. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having
me. We have
me.
to go to break, but when we come back, we'll have a conversation with the dynamic folks from Rise St. James, but from one doctor to another, brother. Thank you for trying to avail yourself to service and in service to our children. And I hope you get another opportunity to serve us, no matter if it's by credential or by title or by degree. I hope you have another opportunity to show yourself true to the things you said here on air today. Stay with us on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Tired of the impersonal, one-size-fit-all style of banking? You deserve a bank that delivers exceptional service and personalized attention to your needs. That's the Home Bank Standard. Since 1908, Home Bank has been a trusted financial partner for businesses and families because we go the extra mile to help you reach your goals. See for yourself why Home Bank is good for business, good for life. Stop by any New Orleans area location or find out more at home24bank.com. Home Bank, member FDIC.
Wherever we go, we never forget where we came from. The river parishes tell a story unlike any other. Join Rise St. James for Home for the Holidays, a celebration of our shared heritage, including the historic Orange Grove and Buena Vista plantations. Hear stories of resilience, connect with descendants, scholars, and community members. Preserve our legacy, honor our ancestors, build a sustainable future. Join the conversation at risestjames.org/holidays. Rise St. James. Together, we rise.
Hi, this is Zoe in sales at WBOK. I'm wishing you and your family a happy holiday.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Good morning, happy Friday. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. In studio with me are the dynamic folk from Rise St. James, and behind the glasses, our super producer, Nyron Sanders. If you're just joining us, we had a very spirited conversation with Eric Doc Jones about his recent run for the New Orleans Parish School Board seat and all the intricacies of who's really controlling our school system and how these outcomes are affecting our children. But we now have to pivot to something that's just as important, that is also affecting families and children all over the place, and that is this environmental injustice that is happening in St. James. And as you know, anytime our folks from Rise St. James come, we talk about the Chemical of the Month. We talk about all of the wonderful things that you guys are continuing to do in the fight for environmental justice. So I want to welcome you to the Good Morning Show. How are you this morning? You left my guy out. You know I love him.
Yeah,
I was like, where is?
Yeah,
how's he doing?
He's in California with his wife.
Okay, is he well?
His wife
though?
live in California.
Good.
Yeah, he's well. I talked to him this morning.
And how are you feeling?
He was so sorry we couldn't be here.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm feeling good. I'm having some issues with my mouth, but I'm doing good.
Oh, good. And we have a new face.
I'm Gary Watson.
Gary Watson.
Filling in for Mr. Robert here to just hang out with Miss Sharon and with the good folks at WBOK.
Gary, that's some big old shoes that you got to try to fill in this morning.
Not trying to fill them at all.
Well, it's good to see you, and thank you for being here. But as I mentioned, we talked briefly about the Chemical of the Month. Like, what's the Chemical of the Month this month?
Chromium?
Yep.
Yes.
It's Chromium 6, actually,
6.
The Chemical of the Month. And, we're excited to still continue with Chemical of the Month. We are entering now the third year. And the hope, this was Ms. Levine's idea. It was to educate the public, to educate, empower the public about what's happening in the community and the air that they're breathing. And we started Chemical of the Month as a means to do that, just provide objective information to the community.
And it's just important to note that chemical is also being exposed to it is also a part of the reason why you're fighting for environmental justice around Cancer Alley.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Many of the people who live in Cancer Alley have no idea of what's in the air they're
Yes.
breathing.
No.
It's become normalized to the point where sometimes, if you live in that area, you may not even smell some of the things that your family and friends who come to visit are smelling. So it's a huge deal. It's definitely, we're always ringing the alarm. And, and again, I'm just glad to be a part of this, the program.
Absolutely. Now listen, we always talk and we always get I get emotional every time y'all come here. But today we get to talk about this documentary that you're a part of, you and your daughter. You want to talk to us about the EPA documentary?
Oh, Michael Regan, Administrator Michael Regan, he is so wonderful. And he came to St. James, also came to St. John, and he walked the streets with us. And then a few weeks ago, well, a month ago, they came to our house to ask us, to talk about what it means to us, the journey to justice. And we wasn't even dressed. We just thought it was going to be just a regular little interview. Come to find out, this interview is going to be in the White House for life. And I didn't know that. And the lady started laughing because we were outside walking, picking up pecans and doing things, and they captured all of that. And then Tuesday, I received something in the mail, a big, tall poster. It's so tall. One of me and one of my daughter. 2 separate posters.
Wow.
And also, Mr. Taylor has a poster also. So Administrator Regan called us on the phone, on a Zoom call. And he talked with us. And he talked to a lady in West Virginia to talk about her struggle with the water and how her husband died from cancer from drinking that mountain water. And he told us he was going to help us, and he did. And he said it touched his heart when he came to see what we were going through.
I wish that someone was doing a documentary on you for something other than this, right? I spoke briefly in our last interview about we as our community, we're fighting so many fights on so many fronts. It's hard to focus on one because if we're focusing on Cancer Alley, then there's educational injustice going on in New Orleans, right? And then there's something else going on in Baton Rouge, and there's something else going on in Shreveport. It's so very hard to be laser focused on one thing because every time you look around, there's a new injustice happening to our folk. But The Journey to Justice is a compelling documentary featuring Ms. Sharon C. Levine and her daughter, Shamira. Yes. As they lead the fight against environmental racism in Cancer Alley, the film sheds light on the devastating impact of industrial pollution and the unwavering strength of frontline communities. You can watch the full documentary on YouTube at Journey for Justice and share it to help spread the message of hope and justice. I envision a world, right, where our children, my baby, can live and Shamira can live. And your babies or your nephews and nieces can live where we're not trying to just fight for basic humanity.
That's right.
Just basic humanity.
That's right.
Our folk don't even get to work on thriving because we're so busy trying to survive on every front. Quality of living. Everywhere you go, where there's a concentration of us, there's always a fight. For a quality of living.
That's right.
What do you think about that?
It's taxing. It's extremely taxing. I want to say I'm happy to be a part of this conversation. You and Ms. Sharon, for sure, have been a huge source of inspiration to me. I started paying attention to some issues. I live in New Orleans, but I started paying attention to issues in the River Parishes really actively in 2017, and also following your work and Ms. Sharon's work. I think it says a lot when you put yourself out there and you're willing to stand on what you believe in by yourself sometimes.
That's right.
And that's what happened to Ms. Sharon. That's what happened to you. And then eventually people come around. There's always a change of events. So I just want to say thank you all for providing that source of, definitely a source of inspiration.
Listen, I do not take that lightly. I receive that in the utmost spirit of love and connectivity. I want folk to understand that there are people who are anointed to do purpose work, right, on behalf of marginalized communities, right? Not all of us are built for it. Right. Not all of us are unafraid. Not all of us are like that. But the few of us who are, I wish that even if you can't offer your voice, your presence in support of folk who are who are selfless enough to put themselves on the front lines of things. We need people to stand behind. There should be no reason why our elders are dying.
That's right.
Because they can't breathe clean air.
That's right. There's
no reason why our children should be suffering in school systems.
That's right.
Because people don't think they deserve quality education.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
There's no reason why 40-year-old, 50-year-old people are working at McDonald's. Those are jobs meant for teenagers.
That's right.
To teach them how to get into the workforce.
That's
but
right.
our families are relegated to service work.
That's right.
Because people don't believe we are worthy of having any more.
That's
But
right.
I keep telling folk, we built it. Take
That's
your
right.
bricks back.
That's right.
And you have to be serious about doing it. If I built it, I could dismantle it.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Right?
That's
But we're
right.
allowing people to come into something we built
That's right.
and dictate to us how it should operate.
That's right.
And I'm just waiting on a wake-up call.
Yep.
When is going to happen? Like, to watch our elders die on toxic soil
That's right.
is not enough.
That's hurtful.
That's not enough.
That's right.
Absolutely. My biggest
right.
concern is the black bourgeoisie who does not support these efforts. And
Sir.
yeah.
Sir. Sir. Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
I want you to hold that thought because we have to go to break. I can't let you say that thought and stop you because I want you to have the fullness of your thought.
That's right.
I don't want you to rush that thought. I want you to hold it.
Yeah.
Yes.
On the other side of the break, we'll jump into more conversations with the dynamic folk from Rise St. James right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hello, New Orleans. This is Jeff Thomas. This holiday season, I pray that you have joy, love, peace, and happiness. And if you don't have those things, I pray that you have the courage, strength, and resilience to see it through. Blessings for all this holiday season.
Hey, everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Brian Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Super producer Naira Sanders is doing what he does best. And in studio right now, we have the dynamic folk from Rise St. James. And before we went to break, and if you want to join in this conversation, the number here is 504-582-9422. But before we went to break, one of my guests mentioned the black bourgeoisie folk, right? And I wouldn't let him have that conversation because I didn't want to stop him.
Yes.
But the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I just like to say that it's just really disappointing that when people are standing up for something they believe in, they're perceived as the really often the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen that with you. I've seen that with Ms. Sharon. I've seen how the establishment are able to use our black people in particular to create narratives. False narratives, disinformation campaigns. When, and in the case of St. James, you know, some of these people have relatives who have died of cancer or who currently are experiencing some kind of cancer, but yet they're willing to go against their own best interests just to dismantle the truth. And I've seen and have learned it does take a certain amount of perseverance and fortitude and not everybody has that to stand up against these situations, to stand in your truth, You always want to go back to the Bible, the truth. I think this is in the Bible, at least my grandmother would say it, the truth sets you free. And just holding on to that and just knowing that eventually, there is a lot of sacrifice, but eventually the latter is always going to be greater. And so again, thank y'all for what you do.
No, thank you. And Miss, and you know how I feel about you and your counterpart. Like, I adore y'all. Every single time they come here, y'all, they get me emotional. They was trying to get me emotional during the break. I will not. Because I get so, it's just like, how can we not see it? And my previous guest, Eric Doc Jones, he's going through his own journey through this idea of having your character question, having your integrity question, having this hit campaign out on you. I know what that feels like. It happened to me. It's happening, ing, to me every single day. And as you mentioned off air, you said you weren't able to get a job. I say, sir, I still don't have a job. That shocked you, right?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about in a city, I'm born and raised here. The only time I've ever left New Orleans is to go and educate myself, and I came back to New Orleans, right? This is my city. I'm born and raised here. My roots are here. My grandmother's roots are here. And to think about a city where you grow up and you get all of my education in terms of my degrees happened here, and then you find yourself unemployable, right? That's an injustice, and folk are watching the injustice, and we're not doing anything about it. That is why, folk believe that they can get away with a Rise St. James, right? That's why. Because if we watch what is happening there, and a whole Black community doesn't rally around that,
they should.
They know that we have a weakness somewhere. There's an opening somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
If we watch what is happening here in terms of education in the city of New Orleans, and the whole Black community doesn't rally around that, they know that we are vulnerable somewhere.
Absolutely.
And they're taking advantage of it, right?
Absolutely.
We watched what happened in Baton Rouge. We neighbors. We right down the street.
Yeah.
And we watched. That's all we did.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We watched. And then we on the back end start talking about it.
Absolutely.
Right? When we should have all, literally, we know the consequence if we let this happen, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Even the governor's race, we watched.
We sure did.
Absolutely.
We watched.
Yeah.
Sure did. We did nothing.
And then I have to ask myself, for that to go like it did, for this to go like it goes, for education to go like it goes here,
that's right.
There is Black complicity that we cannot see. Because there's no way, you're not going to tell me these people at this, they're not that strategic, they're not that efficient.
Right.
They have to have complicity from us.
That's right.
They have to send us for us.
Yeah, absolutely. They do. They send us for us, and especially, and Michelle will tell you, one of the stories or two of them, we're dealing with the, and not, I hate to use the word fighting, but we're dealing with, wanting clean air and clean environments. So we got that issue to deal with. Then we got the issue of, the people who are, the disinformation campaigns, often from local government, that are spearheaded from local government or agencies associated with local government. So then you have the Black people who are your family and friends in some cases, and then you have the people who are inside of the movement that are that power dynamic inside of the movement, where some of the white-led organizations, I know in our case, they feel that we are doing too much. We were supposed to just work on Formosa plastics.
And that's it. Yes.
And let them, basically come in and feel that they can, manage the narrative. And managing the narrative always has something to do with the money and whole purse strings.
That's right.
Usually.
That's right.
And so it's very simple for me with your fight, right, and your plight. Like, people are actually dying.
Yeah.
Like,
that's right. That's the thing.
That's the evidence, right?
That's
I don't
right.
have to do anything.
That's
like,
right.
people are dying.
Yes. And it's
So
steady
how is a Black body
Yeah.
or Black bodies not enough
That's
for
right.
Black folk to see that this
Thank
is
you.
killing you?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
it's
right.
literally killing you.
That's
How
right.
can you go against that? How could their word hold any weight?
Absolutely.
How could their money matter to you?
Yeah.
That's
Babies
right.
are dying.
Yeah.
Your elders
That's
are
right.
dying.
That's right.
Absolutely.
People can't even have babies
That's
because
right.
their bodies are polluted.
Oh, polluted.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
What more do you need?
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what
It's-
could the folk on the opposition say to you to
That's
convince
right.
you
No
that
word.
what
That's
she's
right.
saying is in fact?
That's right.
There's not a word that
That's
could be
right.
said.
That's
There's
right.
not a single word.
I'm
that
bringing
can be
you
said.
the bodies
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
of your neighbors.
That's right.
Is that not enough?
Yeah. I mean, it's Miss Sharon, and I know my parents. It's not unusual for them to have 2 funerals a weekend.
A week. That's right.
And
Sometimes 3.
That's exactly. That's not the same in
No.
similar
That's
black
right.
communities
That's right.
throughout the region.
That's
yeah.
right.
So
You know
Yeah.
what I thought about as you were talking, right? The
What's
2
that?
funerals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we have so many funerals here.
yeah, it's big
Like
business.
it might be 3-4 weeks
Yeah.
before you could run your body through a church because
Full.
the bodies are backed up,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my God.
How is
Yeah.
that not enough?
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
was thinking, I spoke yesterday at a Kwanzaa, and I don't know if the folk made the connection of what I was trying to say, but I'm gonna tell it to you, right? What is happening to you is terrorism, right?
Yeah.
That's terrorism.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
That's
But I
right.
spoke about the healthcare guy that was
Yeah.
murdered by Luigi
Yeah.
Mangione, right?
Yeah.
And they labeled him a terrorist. Do you know why? Because the message is when you kill a white, wealthy executive, right?
Yeah.
I need to send you a message that this ain't gonna happen on our watch.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure
Absolutely.
it's loud and clear, right?
Absolutely.
I don't understand how that boy went into that black church and prayed with those people
Yeah.
and executed them.
That's
and we
right.
didn't hear the word terrorist,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
I
Sure
don't
didn't.
understand how people could bomb, like literally bomb buildings on U.S. soil,
Yeah.
and we don't hear terrorism,
Terrorism.
right?
Absolutely.
Sure
Yeah.
didn't.
We don't hear terrorism when a boy went in a grocery store and just randomly was shooting up food.
Right.
That's
Right.
right.
Right?
That's right.
We don't hear terrorism when you have people who knowingly poison the soil in the air that we
That's
have to
right.
breathe
Absolutely.
in and the water
Thank
we
you.
have to drink.
And then
That's
lie
right.
about it.
And then lie about it.
And then lie about
Right?
it. That's
Yeah.
right.
That's terrorism.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? And I believe if they would have labeled school shooters domestic terrorists, we wouldn't have school shootings like we have
Absolutely.
them.
I
But
know.
we've normalized school shootings because there's no real penalty for
Yeah.
it. Matter of fact, they crowdfund for them.
Yeah.
You know, they give them a good defense, especially when, you know, the boy that went across state lines with the gun and shot up the people at the protest, they crowdfunded for
Absolutely.
him to make sure he had a good, that was
Yeah.
terrorism.
Yeah.
You
That's
didn't
right.
even live there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And
right.
there was nothing happening. You're trying to defend property when there's people actually dying
That's right.
because of police brutality, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we have to be very mindful of what we're
Our
watching
words.
happen.
Yeah. and
That's
our
right.
words
For
matter.
you to label him a terrorism, that's sending a clear message that this isn't the kind of person
He's
you,
an other.
you can kill.
He's
That's
not
right.
like us.
He's not like
And
us.
he's
What
not
Kendrick
like
say
us.
it?
Yeah,
That's
he's
right.
not like
But
us.
you can kill black
Yeah.
children in this country
Yeah.
at a rate that is off the charts.
Yeah.
But there's no thought for common sense gun control, right? You could go in schools and shoot up babies, and there's no process for common sense gun
Yeah.
control. But you could kill a white wealthy man in a nice city,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden
terrorist.
he's a terrorist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you understand?
I
Yes.
totally understand.
This is
Me too.
terrorism. Why
Yeah.
is this not called terrorism?
That's
This is
right.
environmental terrorism.
It
That's
is.
right.
I
Sure
like
is.
that. We're gonna use
That's
that.
what
Yes,
it
we
is.
sure will. We're going to use that, Gary. We're going to use that
It's
one.
environmental terrorism.
it is.
What is happening to our babies in this city
That's
is
right. Yeah.
educational terrorism.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what's happening here.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, in the 1619 project,
Come on now.
especially during COVID.
Mhm.
You know, at one point, St. James and then St. John, which is relatively small communities, the COVID and the death rate was higher than anywhere else in the country for, I believe, a couple of weeks. You know, and I thought about the 1619 project, how they said during the sugar plantations, the death rate often exceeded the birth rate, which
Oh,
is
boy.
unusual.
That
So
sure
in
is.
many ways, you know, this system is functioning exactly the way it was designed to set up. And it's a system that is definitely, it's not broken. You know, if anything, it's really more
it's efficient.
It's efficient.
It's efficient.
It's very
now
efficient.
They got our buy-in.
Absolutely.
They've convinced us to buy into
Yeah.
the system, so it's that efficient now. But I
Absolutely.
heard something so profound that I want to share before we have to leave. Right?
Okay.
I think that this idea that folk believe that we're inferior is a fallacy.
Yeah,
And you want to know
absolutely.
how we know? Because I heard this, it was so profound, right? You know, we nurse their babies, right?
Yeah.
We raise their children.
Wet?
We
What did
took,
they call it?
huh?
What was the term for it?
The wet nurse.
The wet nurses, yeah.
We did all of those things.
Yeah.
Now you tell me, if you think that little of me,
Yeah.
right? If you think I'm nothing, if you think I'm beneath you, if you think that I'm dirty or that I'm, I don't belong,
Yeah.
then why you gonna let me put my breast in your baby mouth?
That's right.
Quite
That's-
opposite.
I knew
think
you was
they
going to
wanted-
say
Why you gonna let me
You know,
comb my hair and
I-
razor
I-
and
That's
look
right.
after and pick off from school?
That's right.
I think
And
they
do all
wanted
that for-
they wanted
That's right.
some of the body and the genetics and stuff
'Cause
to
that
transfer.
melanin is golden.
Absolutely.
That sure is. That sure is.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
melanin is so you can't buy this though, right?
Yeah.
It's not, you can have all the money in the world
Yeah.
and you still can't duplicate
Absolutely.
this.
That's right.
Because it's in us. It's not
That's
on
right.
us.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
that's what they don't understand.
Yeah.
No matter what you do to try to kill us, we grow, right?
That's
Because
right.
it's not magic.
Yeah.
It's not magic. We're not mythical. We real.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's right.
And that's what they're still stumping themselves. Every hurdle you put in our way,
Yeah.
we figured out a way to jump over it.
Absolutely.
Right? Every obstacle you put. So now
That's
you
right.
got to kill us with the soil. You
Yeah.
got to kill us with the air we breathe. You got
That's
to kill
right.
us in the food. You got
That's
to
right.
break down our educational systems because you and I both know if the playing field was leveled.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think our real
right.
superpower is, I hate to, is endurance. It's not always fair, but I know that if you put most of us in situations, we have the broad enough shoulders to stick it out. We will not quit. I know Miss Sharon
No.
will not
I
quit.
know.
Thank God for
and-
you.
It's in me. I
and,
can't quit.
And it's like that's something that other people just don't have the ability to.
I want
proceed
there
with.
to come a time where Miss Sharon can quit.
Absolutely.
Right? Where she
Yeah.
can just rest.
Yes.
I don't want my elders
Yeah.
to become ancestors who never had the
Absolutely.
opportunity to
That's
rest.
right, because it is taxing.
and to just enjoy life.
That's right.
And to just breathe.
To go to
And
your
to
doctor's
just-
appointments
yes.
and relax and
I want
all
there
of
to
that
be a
and
time.
vacations.
Yes.
Yeah,
And people wonder why we second line in New Orleans.
absolutely. I'm just-
You got to have some kind of break from
You do.
from the mass
there has to be joy.
hysteria of trauma.
There has to be rest and joy.
That's right. It has to be.
Listen,
But it's something.
I often feel like I'm going crazy in my mind. I really do.
Yeah.
No.
Because things just make sense in my brain.
Yeah.
And then when I let them out of my mouth, people look at me like I'm saying, I'm a radical. I'm not. This shouldn't be radical.
Yeah.
Like to love black people shouldn't be radical,
right,
right?
that's right.
To ask for clean air shouldn't be radical.
That's right.
To ask for clean soil shouldn't be radical. To
That's
ask for
right.
schools that work
That's right.
shouldn't be radical.
Yeah.
That's
But
right.
if that's the way you want to label it,
Yeah.
because what you're doing to me is radical.
Yes.
And you don't
It
get
is.
to hit me and then judge how I fight back.
Absolutely not.
That's right.
I'm tired, y'all.
Yeah.
And
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm tired too.
I'm tired for you,
Because-
Miss Sharon.
I know, because I want to say this. When industry gives the people in St. James a token or bag of rice or whatever,
Yeah.
they pile up over there to them to sit down and eat their little food.
Yeah.
When I have a meeting, they don't come.
Yeah.
But for Thanksgiving, they want me to give them a turkey.
Yeah.
Listen,
I don't understand that.
I want y'all to
because
come back over and over and
I'm
over.
not- we got to come
continue
back,
have
Gary.
these
We have to come
conversations,
back.
But I
We
want you
have
to
to
check
come
out
back.
the EPA documentary called Journey to
yes,
Justice.
yes.
Yeah.
And I want you to keep up with the fight that Rise St. James is having. And even though it looks like a fight of a different horse, we're all fighting,
we're all fighting,
for the
that's right.
basic right
That's right.
to have our humanity honored.
That's
That
right.
is it.
That's right.
Listen, I want to give a special shout out to Eric Doc Jones for joining us this morning. Special shout out to Rise St. James and to each and every listener and caller that availed themselves in their thoughts to us this morning.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be back. I want to invite you to the front porch up next with Graylin and Kimber. But until next week, this is WBOK 1230 AM. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Happy Friday, y'all. See y'all on the other side.
All right.
Thank you.